Tony. Camacho Adam. Felix and Tony. Camacho Adam. They're the right reason for a new season. Together we rise.
Hafaday and welcome back to another episode of On the Trail with Felix and Tony. I'm Felix Camacho, candidate for governor in this upcoming election on November 8th, this general election. And with me on the trail and at each and every moment on the trail, of course, the campaign trail, is my running mate, Senator Tony Ada.
Hafaday.
Hafaday, Senator. Good morning.
Good morning. So this week on the trail, this past we had the Friday night remix with the meet and greet at the Palau Cultural Center, and I think Boo has a short clip from that, and we can go ahead and put that up on screen so we can show what a good time we had out there.
Terrific. Terrific.
Yeah, it was a great time up there, and we like to thank the Palauan community for their kind and gracious hosting. There at the cultural center to allow us to be there and invite everyone from all different segments of the community, and also from our brothers and sisters from the outer islands as well. Because I do recall you met someone there from Chuuk as well, and then we had Kevin from Yap.
Right, and I was very excited to see the children. There was a track and field team, a cross-country team really, that had come out from Palau, and they were there to run and compete against the local high schools this past weekend. So they were brought there by a good friend of ours, Joe John Metanonia. They reached out to him, and I think Mr. Epson had contacted him. So they made sure that they were well fed.
Yeah.
And also we're grateful to the many food vendors that had come out. They had a food truck out there, and, great desserts also. And just terrific and wonderful hospitality that is very characteristic of our island people. So it was a great time.
And then that started the weekend, because Saturday we had the Red Hat canvassing in Derido. What an amazing turnout that was. Everyone started out to gather, and then we had a short little wave before, we did our group photo, and they went out to the village of Derido and canvassed the streets.
Mm-hmm. That was terrific. Wonderful time. And of course, I'd like to kind of ask you if you would just share the story we had attended a birthday party last night, and as we were going to exiting to get to our car in the parking lot, it began to sprinkle.
No, it didn't sprinkle.
It rained.
It was raining.
Yeah. And
we had to wait for a few minutes outside.
Right. And so as we waited, a certain individual came out, Rita, and thanked us. And maybe you can share what was on her heart.
She really thanked us for, not just being there at Javer's birthday, but, she really wanted to come out and let us know that, we really need to do what we can to, bring back life into our Manamco. These past several years were really tough for them. And doing, staying home, staying locked in. And even when Joanne and Annette went to the different community, the senior centers, it brought life to them. They were happy to see them, happy that they took the time to play bingo with them. They took the time to dance with them, even when we went to go visit them.
Yes.
That, they were just very excited. And I think that's what we sometimes fail to recognize, is that, yes, not only our kids and, the young adults that missed out in the past several years, but most especially the fragile and our seniors, right? The Manamco.
She had said that the forced lockdowns had isolated a lot of our Manamco. It separated families. Families were not allowed to gather together, and so with this isolation, they were depressed. They were lonely, and people don't really realize that many families were broken up because of this. And she was asking, could you help to restore the families? But also, in her words, she said, you must work with us to help bring our Manamco back to life. She went on to explain that she is a caregiver, and despite that, despite the lockdown, she is what she says. I'm an essential worker, and I had to be there for them because they had many needs, and they just want to be able to get out into the community. And I believe when it came to the issue of voting, she says they don't want to vote and be considered a homebound voter. They would prefer that someone come and pick them up and take them out to vote. So that's a very, very considerate thing to do, and I think it's something that we must take to heart, that Manamco want to get out and participate and just be among people.
Yeah, and you know, as our parents, and you know, just when my parents, as they got older, right, you know, they got slower, but still they still wanted to have a part of life, right? And that's why I believe that every single day that my mom and dad could, you know, they came to work. And you know, my mom was on dialysis for 5 years. And even after dialysis, you know, we made it a point to bring her to the office. And even if she just sat behind her computer to play solitary, but she wanted to be a part of the everyday life of the work, being at the workplace, and then taking her home and going home. And so did my dad. And up to their final days, you know, they were able to go to work. And we celebrated my mom's birthday on a Sunday. She went to work Saturday. We celebrated her birthday Sunday. She went into the hospital Monday, and then she passed away on a Wednesday, I believe it was. So, you know, all the way up to her last days, that she wanted to be a part. And I think that's what's important, that we need to recognize, that we need to bring out and bring life again back to our senior citizens. Our
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really the key word is compassion. There must be compassion for all those, and in every situation, in every walk of life, and whatever their situation is leaders need to be compassionate. Our people need to be compassionate. I think that's characteristic of who we are. It reminds me of many studies that have been done about where people, the centenarians, those that live within for 100 years or more, and you know, you find them in places in Greece, in Italy, in Loma Linda, California, in Okinawa, Japan, and a few others. And
right here at home, that we celebrate our centenarians. Yeah.
And I believe that one significant factor is not only diet, exercise, and being able to have fresh air and be in the sunlight, but it is the role of the Manamco in the family, our elderly, where they hold a place of honor and respect, and they feel relevant and still very much important, that their wisdom and their paternal or maternal place in the family is respected, honored, and revered. And so when they are valued and they feel that love, they have something to live for. And so, yes, we got the message loud and clear from Rita about helping to bring our Manapco back into society, back to life, in her words. So
thank you, Rita. Thank you very much for that. Those words and those messages that for our senior citizens.
I think this kind of leads us into what would we do in the first 100 days, and I think it goes right into perhaps. The first thing that we want to do in the first 100 days would be to end the COVID-19 public health emergency.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I don't think there would be any reason to carry it on any further than what it is now. If need be, you know, there's always other ways to, you know, declare an emergency, and you would have that ability to do so. I think, though, the COVID-19 public health emergency is done and over with. I mean, President Biden also said that. So, you know, why Governor Leon Guerrero still hasn't called it off, you know, we'll find out.
Yeah, and here we are, you know, 31, 32 months later. So what was really a public health response with a state of emergency, a public health state of emergency, has really evolved into a political response now, as we are a few days, a couple of weeks, and plus a few days going into the general election. So we know that it's been, a lot of it has been for procurement purposes and to keep the money flowing, and
that
the like.
Would be our next 100 days. Things to tackle would be the forensic audit of the government of Guam finances.
Absolutely.
Yeah, going into, you know, ensuring that we appoint an administrative Department of Administration and the Bureau of Budget and Management Research. to provide within the 30 days of the inauguration a full forensic audit of all local and federal government expenditures, including contracts, purchase orders, active procurement, and especially the sole source procurement. Right, sole source procurement was done. The last report we had was in 2020, and what we need to do is look at everything that was sole source procured that is durable, like vehicles or ATVs or whatever it may be, that we get a full accountability of where all those items and vehicles or even laptops or computers, desktop computers, things like that, where are they all at, so that we can have a full accountability of these things?
Yeah, so I believe it has to be an audit not only of our federal monies, we got close to $2 billion, but also local expenditures that would have to include contracts, purchase orders, active procurement, and other actions that were attached to the FY 2023 Budget Act. The mere fact that there are federal dollars involved, I think we would certainly need to reach out to some federal counterparts to assist in this audit.
Right.
And just set things right. I think that's absolutely necessary because all must be held accountable, and we just want to do what's right.
Yeah, it's like in the military. Whenever we have a change of command, we have a complete what they call it, inspection of everything. I mean, from tools to equipment to. So it's just like when you do a change of command and you're changing from one governor to the next, you want to make sure that everything is properly accounted for prior to getting in there, and because we don't want to say something was purchased under the previous administration, and they're looking for us to see where it's at, and we want to make sure that we know where it's at.
What's critical too is the transition, from one administration to the next. So at the end of the election, once the election results are certified, the transition from one administration to the next in the month of November, what remains, and into December, of course, the full month, and then the first few days of January. So there is a definite requirement for collaboration and cooperation from one administration to the next in the way of transition. There's so much at stake, and I think there just needs to be full disclosure of what is. And I remember when I transitioned out into Eddie Calvo's administration with Ray Tenorio, I had instructed every department and agency, Sean Gumatata coordinated this, that everyone had to do a closeout report to clearly show the administration coming in, the Calvo administration, the current state of affairs, the finances, and the condition of it, so that there'll be no surprises. Right. I thought that was very important because when I had come in, succeeding Carl Gutierrez, it was a complete disaster, of course, as a result of the typhoons, from the hospital to the schools to even government. The governor's office at Adelup was completely destroyed. And so we had to start from scratch. It was a very difficult time. But prior to the storm, rather after the storm, we were able to meet with the governor and his chief of staff and a few others and have a quick discussion. Then, of course, the storm happened on December 8th.
Yeah, right.
And it was a very, very terrible destruction and a very grueling recovery process. Yes.
But you did it.
Yes.
You recovered the island and got the island back on its feet.
So, thirdly, I know that the business community has been very much interested in the rollback of the business privilege tax, which is currently at 5%, and they are asking that it be rolled back to 4%. Definitely the role of the Director of Administration of BBMR and Revenue and Taxation would be very, very important to understand what are the true finances of the government, and we need a true assessment of where we are. But there is certainly a desire to roll back the BPT from 5 to 4%.
Right.
And certainly we're going to have to work on that very quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next one is the prioritize the issues of Guam Memorial Hospital. Guam Memorial has been really on the back burner these past couple of years. They were able to help and get our people through this pandemic, which is, but where are they at now?
Yeah.
And where is the hospital at now? It's in really dire need of renovation, if need be, upgrading. Because I understand everybody wants to get a new hospital, but the realities of where this administration is looking at placing that hospital is, to me, unattainable. I don't think we would be able to put a hospital, $1 billion facility, in the middle of Eagles Field. First, you're taking away the land from the landowners. Then you're placing a facility where there is no infrastructure for water, power, sewer, and then hardlining those the power going to that medical campus that they want to build there. Not like we're in Tumuning where the old Guam Memorial used to be. I remember you had the hardlining for the power generation to the hospital taken care of up there, and we got all the facilities. We got behavioral health. We have the different medical facilities that are there. We have the different clinics that are all within that area. So, that is some of the concerns of having it placed at Eagles Field in Manila.
Yeah. So the appointment of a healthcare or hospital administrator is absolutely necessary. I believe that there's going to be a need to assemble all of the healthcare providers, the doctors, and others that are relevant, and get their advice or their opinions. They count, and there has to be a sense of reasonableness and understanding of all that's at stake. So all the stakeholders and healthcare providers in whatever capacity needs to be assembled, and we need to hear from them. I think secondly, we also need to hear from GITA, in that I believe with the oversight hearing that was conducted by the speaker on Eagle Field, much was revealed that there are ongoing studies, either ongoing or completed. I believe it's prudent that we look at all these studies that have been paid for and take those into consideration, as it was revealed by Ancestral Lands Commission that under the study that was administered, or the oversight of that study and that commission of the study of potential sites are all there.
Right.
What do they have to say about Oka or Hospital Point and the existing site, and take all of that into consideration? Of course, we have to ensure that there's a GMH sustainability plan. What is absolutely sustainable? What are the monies available where legislation can be created, working in cooperation again with the legislature on a dedicated funding source? The hospital itself is considered to be a fully autonomous or semi-autonomous agency, but it has required a lot of support from the general fund.
Right.
In other words, they cannot survive on their own, and for all the decades that GMH has been in business, we have to do a real honest and true assessment of the capabilities of GMHA in their role of running a hospital. We have to look at all options that are out there and consider that. And of course, with that, I know that there were plans to include in one massive facility behavioral health services, a clinic, I believe, for the veterans, and take all of that into consideration as to what is the best choice. But again, with the multitude of counselors that can come to us, we can hear the best sound advice, and then working with the legislature, come up with a plan of action.
All right.
Very quickly.
Definitely.
And of course, as I did mention, behavioral health, we do have to address the drug epidemic that is happening on Guam, and with that, public safety. So, Senator, your thoughts?
Yeah, public safety is a big issue. It's so strange how we just bring up public safety, and just early this morning, Ben's van got broken into, and they smashed the rear window of his van,
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that his van wasn't parked on the street. It was in his garage
Yeah.
with the gates closed. So, the perpetrators are just becoming more and more, how do they say it, aggressive in ensuring that they're gonna take something, or they're gonna harm someone, or they want to vandalize something. They're gonna do it, and we need to get public safety out on the street, and get our men and women in blue, the officers that they need, the equipment they need, the vehicles they need, and to prioritize, public safety, the neighborhood patrols or neighborhood watch, and as well. As you know, that just this past couple of months, they had pay raises that were given out, and all law enforcement, we have to. They have all their different roles that they take. However, GPD being the front line, the men and women in blue that are out there 24/7, not just protecting our businesses and the streets, and but the lives of the residents and those who are here, and those who call Guam home and those who visit Guam. So we need to make sure that we get more officers out on the street to help keep our island safe, because crime has just been on the rise these past several months. I mean, past couple of years, really. And I'm surprised that statistics are still not out in for the past 2 or 3 years. We don't see any statistics as to the what the crime rate is. But when they say crime is low, absolutely not. Crime has risen tremendously on our island, and we just have to attack it and go at it with the.
Yeah, I do want to say really that with regard to the pay raises that were given to the police officers, it was under executive order, and I believe that the funding source, of course, would be to tap into the federal monies that were given. But there's a great concern among many of the police officers as to whether or not this is going to be permanized. There is a real need to work with the legislature to ensure that budget-wise, because it was not included in the 2023 budget that the Guam legislature had just passed.
Right.
And so,
and we'll be right back.
across all walks of life, all professions, every societal change, education has been the way forward. As governor, I built 4 new schools and broke ground on a 5th. Tony and I have a plan to modernize and build for the future. This election, vote for the team that has actually done something for education on Guam. For details on our plans for education, visit CamachoAdaforGuam.com. I'm Felix Camacho.
I'm Tony Ada.
We approve this message.
And now, back on the trail with Felix and Tony.
The great concern is, was it just for political reasons and this political season that pay raises were given under executive order, and not there's no real sustainability as far as the monies that are there to maintain it. So that has to be addressed, so that the raises that were given and even the promotions that come with it, because along with promotion would be an increase in salary, that has to be addressed. Customs and quarantine, I believe, Senator, is another very critical area in the way of ensuring that they are fully equipped. So if there's going to be any prevention of drugs that are coming into this island, that is a very critical customs and quarantine and immigration section. They would have to be properly supported. We definitely know that there's going to be a need for interaction between our federal law enforcement agencies, all the relevant ones, within the first 30 days or more, in a interagency coordination to establish some kind of a task force to figure this out. Along with that, we know that there's going to be training that's absolutely necessary for law enforcement. We talked about how there's a need to hire more police officers. They say they're 200 to 300 officers short. You talked about Ben and his vehicle being vandalized within his own premises. They trespassed, jumped the fence, cracked the rear window, and this destruction of property is just a clear example of what's happening. I mean, we've seen in the front page about an individual whose It was staked out for about a month by 3 or 4 individuals. They were able to gain access through a side door. He was on the phone in his couch, and they jumped him, beat him with a pipe, punched, kicked him, tied his hands and feet with wire, covered his face with a T-shirt, and continued to beat him, and then stole his truck and led the police on a high-speed chase. It's this home invasion and drug, all the drug crimes that are happening is indicative of the fact that there is so much methamphetamine or ice on the streets.
Right.
Where it used to be maybe a dozen years ago, it was between $60 to $100. It was between $700 to $800 a gram, and now it's between $100 and $150, meaning that it is abundant and it is in great supply and it's cheap, and the use of meth or ice is across all demographics. It is across a wide range of occupations.
Mm-hmm.
There are individuals that are professionals that are fully employed down to our youth. And so it is widespread in its use. And DEA was even here to give a seminar on how you can spot individuals that may be highly functional, although they may be on meth, spot them in the workplace. So this has to be addressed. Many political ads have come out saying, well, during my administration, we only received, or they were only seized so many pounds. That's because it was so expensive because it wasn't readily available. Now they tout, well, we have confiscated X number of pounds, of meth, meaning there is so much out there. And so it's almost contradictory when you listen to what's being promoted out there. But lastly, I do want to say that we do need to communicate with federal officials and ensure that Guam receives what's called it's a national drug control policy of Guam's intention to be designated as a high-intensity drug trafficking area, or HIDTA, high-intensity drug trafficking area, that would avail our island to many federal resources and programs to attack this. Senator, we know full well that this is what's happening. Is it's international in scope between Guam and Southeast Asia, Guam and the state of Hawaii and the West Coast, also from Mexico, and then we've got fentanyl now that is a real threat coming into the island. That even one dose of that is lethal, and being disguised as candy, multicolored candy.
Rainbow fentanyl is what it's called.
Yeah, so it is a major problem that we have to again go back to basics, build up our force, and approach it from many different angles and tackle this thing.
Yeah, and that's why earlier I said that all segments or all sectors of law enforcement is truly very important. And keeping our borders safe, looking at all the cargo that comes in through the commercial port, looking at cargo that comes in through the airport, what's coming in through the mail. We have to fight this every step of the way. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to fight this drug epidemic every step of the way.
Yes, Senator, we had also attended, of course, a forum that was conducted by the Guam Hotel Restaurant Association and the Guam Tourism and Travel Association. Right. Very informative. They talked about the economy and the loss of jobs, I believe, from 25,000 plus in the hotel restaurant industry down to about 12,000. They talked about, I believe, an estimate of 10,000 of our people that have left island, and how there's a real need to work at rebuilding and restoring our tourism industry, which is one of the main legs, and the concern about how the revenues, the tax revenues being collected, representing up to 60% of our revenue base on Guam now, totally destroyed, and them operating really at a 9% capacity. How it's unsustainable. How can they keep their doors open like that? And so this story of doom and gloom, we have to bring back hope.
Right.
And it's going to have to be a season of restoration, a season of hope, a season of hard work. Where you got to plow the ground and plant the seed and nourish this thing so that we can then harvest down the line of during prosperous times, because it's been a very, very difficult season of lockdown and just loss of freedom, loss of much that has happened in a very, very difficult season that we're coming out of. Now we're moving into a season where the winds of change are blowing through now, and
Yes.
and there's a lot of hope in the air, and this attitude of restoration that we can do this. That's what I walked away with, is that yes, it's going to require a lot of work, but we have to. It's going to require a lot of work, but we have to just grind it out and get back to basics.
It's something that it took 50 years to build our tourism to get to
1.6 million
1.6 million tourists.
Yeah.
And we can't just throw it to the wayside.
Yeah.
What took Guam 50 years to build and to really get good at it, we have to continue to build on that. And we have to bring it back to where it was at, the glory that it used to be, what's going to be the glory again. And so that the rest of the island will be able to prosper as well. Because when tourism comes and tourists comes into the island, everyone benefits from it. So
yeah, I think one thing that's going to be characteristic of our administration is that just as we've gone out to every business establishment that we can and meeting with management and the employees to understand what's going on, we're going to have to assemble a team of economic advisors from all sectors in the business community. And not only that, but include Department of Defense and the military. We're going to have to reach out to the Admiral.
Right.
You're going to have a massive presence on this island. And the impact on it socially, economically, environmentally, these are areas. But what I'm excited is that we will be characteristic of a team that is going to sit down and listen and consider everything and then make decisions that are right. I was telling Jen Camacho, the daughter of Joey Crisostomo,
yes,
and of course he was given an award with the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and the one thing he said, I told her, that really impressed me with his speech his acceptance speech of his award, the Laureate Award. Was he said to the politicians that are in the crowd that are here, just do the right thing. And Joey, that hit home.
Yeah.
So we want to establish fairness, righteousness. We got to do what is just and do what is right. So that was very good.
Oh, great. Well, we covered pretty much our first 100 days on several different several topics, and next week on the trail we'll be coming up to that. We have the We Want to Know, the Action Pack show with Phil Letty. That will be on Tuesday, and then we have live with Frank and Sarah Camacho, the Cranks. We'll be having a show with them as well.
I believe he'll be zooming in on the podcast from Saipan, right?
From Saipan, yeah.
Yeah. What was he explaining? What he was doing in Saipan about around the island?
Yeah. So he did a actually it was a fundraiser, right? That for that he trekked around the island and he did it. He completed in I think 18 hours. I believe what he said it was, and
he actually did something similar here on Guam with Matt Scrow.
Oh, wow. So he did.
Walk from Mauricio to Retidian.
Wow.
Mauricio to where?
Retidian.
To Retidian.
Yeah, with him and Matt Scrow led that charge. And
yes.
That.
So Frank, the Crank, and Matt Scrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was here on Guam, and then Saipan, that was on his own.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you recall the day when the late John Gerber brought attention to Marine Corps Drive.
Right.
And he's saying, everybody thinks that it's Marine Drive because it's along the ocean, but it really should be known as Marine Corps Drive. And he walked, I believe, from the north, starting up in Anderson to the gate at Naval Station.
Right.
And wearing combat boots, and I think he was pulling along some sign with his young sons at that time. It was very inspirational to the point that the Guam legislature did officially name it the
Marine Corps
Marine
Drive.
Corps Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it for homelessness here on Guam,
Mm.
and then they did it and then Frank did it for cancer.
Yeah, in Saipan.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then he also has a Fit to Lead program that's going on in Saipan, and then as well as a self-defense course that he's teaching,
Yeah.
for women and all those who would like to take a self-defense course. And it's really amazing what he's doing with the community, and we appreciate all the work that he's done with the community and continues to do. And we hope to expand that down here as well to to Guam, to our residents, and see what is it that he can do to bring awareness to self-defense, especially in this time in a day and age where crime is really on the uptick, and we need to make sure people keep safe. So thank you,
terrific.
Frank and Sarah, for all that you do up there in the CNMI, and that we hope to replicate that and bring it down here on Guam, and to bring it here. Yes. Add here. Yeah, that's right. I'm getting corrected by our producer, Mr. Boo, that no, it's done. It's being done here too. So thank you for
terrific.
everything you guys do for the Marianas. How's that? There you go. And then we got our rally coming October 30th at the Freedom Park, the former Guam Greyhound Park. So, we invite everyone to come on out. We announced that we have our rally then. So, come on over, have fun.
Yeah.
Come to a place where you know that, you're going to be welcome and that it's going to be a good time. Just a lot of good time, happiness, and, just to get together and before the general election. So that's what we have coming up on the trail next week. Do we have any questions?
We do.
Oh, we do.
We do. We have one from Guami Val. Her question was, what do you intend to do about the disrepair of Simon Sanchez and other GDOE schools?
Oh, God.
Well, the administration claims that they're at 99% complete in the plans. The architectural engineering plans for Simon Sanchez. I assume that there's going to have to be an effort on the financing of that. If a funding source already has not been found, and so it would have to be a follow through then to make it happen. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a need to take a look at all of the existing schools. I know that the current superintendent has already done that, citing certain schools that are not safe. There has to be a transition facility to move students out, and then either begin the repair or complete renovation of existing schools up to standard. But it will take proper planning, and it's got to involve, of course, the Department of Education, their board, and the superintendent, as they are pretty much an independent, autonomous agency. However, they're fully dependent upon the general fund for all of their expenses and all their revenues. And so it's going to take a coordinated effort to do that. We must also consider the changing demographics of population growth or decrease in certain areas, and begin to consider all of that. And it's going to require input really from the school administrators and even the teachers on the environment. And of course, every school has a parent-teachers association. I believe their input or their comments would be absolutely necessary. But we drove by Southern High, and as we drove by, I was shocked to see the condition of it just from the outside
Right.
the fence, looking at it. In my time, I recall during my administration, every summer before the students would get back to school, every department and agency, we in cooperation with the private sector, adopted a school. Mm-hmm. And through volunteerism and donations of supplies, we would get out there and begin to spruce up and clean and water blast and bush cut and mow and mop and scrape and paint, do whatever was necessary to improve the physical appearance of the school and ensure that it was nice and bright and clean.
Yeah, and that followed on through in Governor Calvo's time.
Right.
Having every agency and out there adopting schools as well.
Yeah.
And
Adopt a school
yeah,
program.
the
Adopt a School.
program. And unfortunately, these past several years, again, that has not been done. When the kids came back to school this school year, the grass was tall. Schools hasn't been maintained, so I think their welcome back was not as welcoming as perhaps it should have been.
That was really a result of the lockdown and shutdown of our schools.
Yeah.
But interesting, though, when you look at what's happened with the private sector, although they were locked down and shut down for means of survival, they had to adjust and use technology and creativity and innovation in trying to maintain and survive.
Right.
Where the government just went into a total coma. And so the schools are a clear example of what's happened when you shut down. Just like a car. I mean, you leave that parking, sit and park for a couple of years, the battery's out, the gasoline in the tank goes bad, and it's not going to start up right away. It begins to deteriorate, and that's what's happened. So
yeah, I mean, we had one of our visitors at the cultural center in Delito that came by and was asking, was mentioning that the air conditioning at Price Elementary School library is not even working, that the child couldn't even go into the library. So there's still issues to this day with the school facilities. And with the Camacho Area administration, we're going to work with the board, with the superintendent, so that we can work together to get the education system going for our children. Because regardless whether we have the 100% say in it or not, we need to be there as well to help them where they need the help. And I know
Right.
you've done it before, sir, in the past, and I know that we'll be able to do it again in the future.
And so we can only do that if you get out and vote. Make your vote count. Senator, let's close out with what's happening with only 17 days left before the general election.
Wow, would you believe? I think we're down to 16 and a wake up.
Is it 16 and a wake up? All right.
Yeah, 16 days and a wake up. You can still register to vote by visiting the Guam Election Commission office at the Oka Building in Tamuning, or at your mayor's office from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Registration ends on October 24th. Early voting, it began October 11th and it ends on November 3rd at the Westin Hotel. The last GEC Saturday voting satellite is on October 29th at the Maritza Martyr Memorial School in Malesso. Again, you can engage with us on the trail by asking questions through any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Camacho Ada for Guam. Your questions can be sent to us in text, audio, and video. And again, we're still waiting for audio or video. We look forward to engaging with you in the digital space and answering your questions on the show. We hope that you continue to join us on the trail. It's an exciting time for both the governor and I, and also for the Camacho Ada team. So with that, you close us out, sir.
Well, people of Guam, we're just, again, thank you for listening to us, and we look forward to the next episode. As mentioned, please look out for us with Frank and Sarah Camacho, Frank the Crank. They'll be streaming live, I believe, on Tuesday.
Yeah, the cranks.
Yes, and then we'll do another episode or recording next weekend. And again, so thank you for joining us on this campaign trail with Felix and
Tony.
Adios.
Adios.
Felix and Tony.